Hey everybody, we haven't done a video in a long time.
It's because it's cold here.
It is cold. It's January 2019 and we thought we would do some other people's questions and our answers. I have some written down for you to answer, and then hopefully you can ask me some too. When I said I wanted to buy a bus, what was your first reaction or thought?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, this makes for good YouTube.
My first reaction and thought was, alright, this is his next crazy idea, crazy adventure. Maybe if I ignore him long enough, it'll go away.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
That didn't work.
No.
It did hold him off for a while, though. Hold you off for a while.
Couple months.
That's true, it wasn't very long.
I think first kind of got serious, I think, I don't know, sometime in January, I thought, of 2016. How much did you think it would cost?
I thought it would cost more than I cared to spend. I guess growing up, we owned motorhomes a good portion of my teenage years, and I knew how expensive those were, and I'm sure I didn't even know the half of it, but figured it would be expensive. And then when you told me the price of the bus, I thought, well, maybe it won't be so bad. I was delusional. It was expensive to build. The outside was not so bad. The bus part was not so bad. It was everything that went into the bus that I just thought we would be able to do without costing a fortune.
Well, I don't know that I've actually said exactly how much we paid for the shell of this. I don't think we'll get into the specifics of everything. Maybe someday we will, if that's some interest. But we bought the shell originally. We saw it for sale for about $5,000. And as usual, I figured, oh, I could probably work them down a little bit.
Did I know it was $5,000?
I don't know. Maybe I worked them down before then. Together we'll tell the story of how we picked it up. I think it was the weekend after Easter? In 2016?
No, it was the day after Easter.
The day after Easter.
You thought the kids had the day off of school, so it would be a great time to go. But they didn't have the day off.
Right, we're horrible parents.
So we kept them home.
We did. Well, we didn't really, we weren't home all that long.
No, it was a long drive.
We drove, at least 4 hours north.
Yeah.
Into northern Minnesota to look at this bus, had cash in hand, and before then we kind of had a negotiated kind of top end at, I think it was about $3,500 or so was what we were going to buy the shell for. And I want to be completely honest, and I think I have before, I was not necessarily, I was okay with not coming home with it.
Liar.
No,
Liar.
I was.
I figured we're driving 4 hours, we are not coming home without this bus. There's no way. He would not drive 4 hours to drive 4 more hours to think about it, to drive 4 more hours to go back and get it.
That's true, I might have.
So it was either we were going to have it or we weren't going to have it. So I fully expected that we were coming home with this bus, and that my ignoring his desire to do this was not going to be ignored any longer.
But I remember when we went on this test drive with the guy, and I wasn't even really comfortable driving the bus yet, but I knew if we bought it, I'd be driving it home.
That scared me.
What, when it shut down?
No, that you were going to be driving
that I was going to be driving it home.
Never driven a bus before, but we're going to just drive this bus home.
I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to do it. But when we were driving in the test drive, all of a sudden it went into shutdown mode, which usually means there's a substantial problem with the motor, and then sure enough it started right back up on the side of the road after a little bit. We never did figure out what was wrong with it right then and there, but I called a local bus garage and asked them about it a little bit, and they said, well, it could be a bad oil pressure sensor or something. Come to find out, it turned out to be a loose wire on the water temperature sensor.
Now during that shutdown, let me tell you, it's just a shell of a bus. So Sean and I and all 4 kids are just sitting on the floor of the bus. It goes into shutdown mode. And we're sitting there, and all I kept thinking is, I don't know what's wrong with this thing, but it's going to be ours. It isn't even going to matter.
And at that point, I honestly was not sure if I wanted it or not, because I didn't know what was going on with it.
I still knew it was going to be ours, and so it was news to me
Even
when...
then?
Yep. It was news to me that he was willing to walk away from it, because I didn't figure he would.
I managed to convince the seller that with all the unknowns, how about we settle on $3,000, and he went for it. So that's how we got our bus home for $3,000. Probably the cheapest single thing we've done on it.
This is Wampa.
This is our cat. One of our cats.
Hey, buddy.
We have a couple of cats.
This is the favorite. All right, you buddy. Come here.
Show everyone on YouTube this.
Come here.
He has a face for YouTube, as I like to say. Oh, will you show it?
But he likes Mom. Can you show me your cute face?
Next question. This was sent in by nobody. I just thought it was a good question to ask. What were you most worried about when I was working on it? While I've been working on it.
What was I most worried about? Probably the electrical stuff. Because if this thing starts on fire, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be terribly hard to get out. So there's that piece of it.
That's fair, I suppose. I don't know. It's kind of...
Well, and can I tell the story? So
fine, tell the story.
I think my fears were justified because when we went to Wisconsin Dells the first August that we had it, and there wasn't much built in here, the kids' bunks, and then really we just had a couch and a seat that we had bought off of Craigslist. But we're driving to Wisconsin Dells. I decide I'm tired. The kids are sleeping, so I go climb in the back. And when we get there, I find out that while he's driving, going down the road, the wires next to him start on fire. And so he's driving the bus down the road, like he doesn't have anyone up here for help, and he is like using his hand to try and slap out a fire. And so I think my fears are completely justified.
For the record, I have since cleaned up that rat's nest of wires. It was, I think I had a positive come loose on the backup camera power is what happened. What turned out better than you thought?
Everything.
Oh, really? That's good to hear.
I mean, I was a little bit nervous as to what I was gonna see. You really sat down and drew out plans, and we really talked about what we needed to make it functional for a family of 4, or a family of 6, 4 kids. And trying to decide, you know, do we just do 2 bunks and have, you know, 2 kids sleep on the couches? But I knew if we were going to do any amount of trips that they each were going to need their own space. Just trying to make it work for us. So I guess as it's come together, I think everything about the bus has completely surprised me. So
it's nice to hear. Thank you. Thank you.
I probably don't give you credit enough for what we've done.
Yeah, it's sometimes I'm surprised, but I always see the what's left, what's not done, what could be better. That's what I always see. What has been your favorite trip or memory so far?
I really enjoyed a lot of the trips, I think for different reasons. I really liked our trip out to South Dakota. It was a lot of fun. We made a lot of memories. I think one of my favorite memories though was when we went north up through Duluth, but it was the night where we didn't have a place planned to sleep that night. We were having problems with the bus, and
like
we
usual.
I had taken the kids to Split Rock Lighthouse, and Sean, you were working on the bus, and at that point, like, it wasn't taking a charge, so we couldn't run the air conditioners. We didn't have a place to sleep that night, and we happened upon this, like, park type thing, and we ended up just pulling in the parking lot and pulling out the grill and making dinner, and playing bags, and the kids were running through the field and throwing frisbees, and we were telling stories, and it just, I think for me, like, as far as the bus goes, that was probably one of my favorite nights in the bus, even though it was having problems. And I'm sure our stress was at an all-time high, but it was probably one of my favorite nights in the bus.
Thinking back on that, that was a really nice, that was a nice evening, and it's...
It had the potential to go really wrong.
It did. The major battle we were fighting right then was we had a hole in one of the front airbags that I was trying to patch up. And we just found a little municipal park in a small town in northern Minnesota, and they didn't care. Someone said a cop drove by at some point later on in the night, but we'd cleaned up everything, you know. We generally believe in leave things better than you found it.
Yep.
But yeah, the kids had a great time. We explored the park. I snuck around and tried to scare the kids at one point.
Yeah, that was fun. That whole trip was fun, but I think that night stands out as probably one of the funner nights.
And she's the planner. And that was an unplanned thing.
It was an unplanned thing. I see the potential for fun in unplanned things, but I don't do that well.
Do you have any questions you want to embarrassingly ask me?
I guess my first question would be, is what made you decide that this was going to be your next project?
Well, I think it was, I knew that we wanted to spend time with our kids, make good quality memories with them. We had just refurbished a pop-up camper, and I think we both realized there were some good positives to that, but it wasn't...
hats off to those of you who travel on those. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of setup. It's
better than a tent.
Definitely better than tent camping, but it's still a lot of work. I mean, this is a lot of work too. But then I thought about a travel trailer, you know, just a better pull-behind RV, but our kids are getting bigger, and they've always complained about, you know, those long car trips. They hated long car trips. You know, we've driven to Texas a couple of times. And I was just thinking, well, we should be able to create a way for the kids to enjoy the traveling part of it as well. And then I started looking at just normal RVs, and I'd always kind of heard they were, you know, they're kind of at their maximum limit as far as weight and capacity goes from the factory, and then once you add all your stuff and the water
and your dog
and a 150-pound dog, you're, you know, I don't know, I think you're probably almost always technically overweight. You're at the maximum limit of what they're designed for. A lot of people, at least in the bus conversion community, call them sticks and staples because they're basically put together but with wood and staples and glue. I was just thinking, well, that's not really a good idea, maybe. And I was looking at how expensive they are. Now, you can buy older ones, but then you have all the problems with an older one and all the downsides, which kind of started leading me down to, well, what about this other thing? And I don't even know exactly where I first heard about, hey, you can convert a bus, but
apparently you didn't have enough work to do that month.
But then we were also talking about, you know, we wanted each of our kids to have their own place to sleep, a space.
You can't find that in a motorhome. At least none that we saw. We even went to a motorhome show, which was fun.
We got a lot of good ideas. I think maybe what actually originally sparked the idea was I knew about entertainer coaches for musicians, and they'll often sleep a lot, and they're made for traveling, made for comfort, and I figured we kind of needed a hybrid, with, you know, half entertainer, half RV. And that's kind of what we ended up with here. Any other questions?
Another question. Does it scare you to drive the bus ever?
A lot less now than it used to, and I need to be careful about that, I think. At first, like I said, I watched a ton of YouTube videos on how to take corners properly. You know, always watching my mirrors, my blind spots, and just making sure we do have a backup camera or a rear-facing camera that's on all the time. Yeah, I guess sometimes you forget you're driving a 33,000-pound vehicle down the road, because a lot of times I feel like it drives like my truck. It brakes pretty good. Okay, it doesn't accelerate all that fast, but once it's going, it tracks really straight. It's easy to, the steering wheel has hardly any feel to it, or any weight to it. I love driving it, you know.
I feel like you're really like pushing all the positives. He's been trying to get me to drive it since we bought it, and it scares me.
I mean, you know, there's some, you know, when you hit the brakes and things start moving, and, you know, I try and give everybody warning if we have to do it quick. If you do want to ask us some questions, we would love to do another one of these, I think. I don't know. Are you enjoying this?
Yep.
She's kind of been avoiding it for a while, if I'm honest.
Yep.
But if you want to do more, or if you want to submit some questions in the comments of this video, I think we could probably make some time to do this again. I don't know, it'll be warm like this. It is literally about 60 degrees inside the bus, no extra heat, in the middle of January.
That doesn't happen here.
No. But we can make it happen for you.
Are you glad we did it?
Absolutely.